Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. And today we're going to look ahead to a massive game for the Huskers on Saturday with the Michigan Wolverines, the 21st ranked Michigan Wolverines. We're going to break it all down, what to expect when Nebraska has the ball, what to expect when Michigan has the ball. We're going to look at the keys, make some predictions, look at who's going to be coming on some recruiting visits. So we're going to cover it all this weekend with an in-depth preview here on the Michigan game for Nebraska. Before we get into that, please make sure that you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section, let us know what you think is going to happen on Saturday, what some of the keys are. And Danny, before we get into it, how you doing, man?
Good. The game I've been waiting for, quite frankly, since the start of the season is finally here, and everybody seems to have the game circled on their schedule, and for good reason. It's going to be a CBS game. Feels like the old days, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think this is a game that a lot of Nebraska fans have had circled, right? It's a game that, I definitely believe it's the biggest of the Matt Rhule era up to this point. I mean, if you win this game, there'll be some other big games coming, but this is a big game. This is, to me, I think this is a must-win game for this program. I really do. And for this head coach, if you want to sell all this stuff and you want to do all these podcasts and all this stuff, you got to win some games. Like, you got to win some games on the field, and this is an opportunity, I think, for this team to show that it's for real, and for this head coach to show that the third year jump is for real, and for Dylan Raiola to show that he's a big time quarterback, because Nebraska's just not going to get any respect until they win a game like this. I mean, it's fine to beat Cincinnati, and it's fine to whip up on Akron and Houston Christian, but until they beat one of these blue blood kind of teams, beat a top 25 team, they're not going to get the respect that they deserve. So it's a big game, and it's time. It's time for this program to deliver. It's just time.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the weaker Michigan teams in recent memory. I remember when they came in 2023. They were a machine, and so I think Nebraska has a chance to win this game, and a very good chance. And I think they match up well on both sides of the football.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's start when Nebraska has the football, and we're just going to look at kind of some of the keys and breakdowns, kind of things that they need to do. I guess number one, most importantly, I think the biggest question is, can they protect Dylan Raiola? To me, that's going to be the biggest question in this game. Michigan is a 2.5-point favorite right now coming into Lincoln on Saturday. I do think that Nebraska is going to struggle to run the football. I really don't see them getting a lot of push in this game with Emmett Johnson. Michigan's allowing about 2.6 yards per carry. Oklahoma was able to have some success. They had about 140 yards rushing. However, a big chunk of those yards were from the quarterback, John Mateer, and Dylan Raiola is not. He may run for a first down or two, but he's not going to run for like 50, 60 yards in this game. So I do have a hard time seeing Nebraska rush for over 100 yards. I think a lot of this game is going to be on Raiola throwing it, on the offensive line, protecting it. And this is going to be a big test. They have played well so far this season, but they've not seen pass rushers or a defensive line like Michigan. So it's a big test for this offensive line too.
And I think it starts with getting the playmakers involved, and Dane Key, Ja'Cory Barney, Cortez Mills even. It's time to empty the tank and put whoever can make a play on the field. And with Key, you see him building a rapport with Raiola. And so I think that's going to be necessary on Saturday in order for Nebraska to win this game. Key is a very good receiver. He's been very impressive so far this season. Like I said, at a 100-yard game last weekend. And, now it's going to be up to him to kind of continue that performance and be an impact playmaker offensively.
Yeah, the passing game is going to be critical. It will be interesting to see how Michigan handles it. They've had a lot of success against, big time receivers. They shut down Jeremiah. They held Jeremiah Smith to like under 40 yards last year. They did the same thing to the Alabama guy. So they do have, and these are the same players that they had, playing in that bowl game last year against Alabama. They may get Rod Moore back for this game. He's expected to play, and he's a two-time All Big Ten safety. It is going to be his first game back from injury in over a year. So that is going to be interesting to see how he's moving and stuff. But the one thing he does really well that will help this Michigan defense is he is an excellent quarterback, getting guys into the right place. And Michigan struggled with that a little bit through the first few weeks. Some mixed blows and blown coverages, things like that. So I do think that Rod Moore will help solidify that. They do have a really strong cornerback in Jair Hill. Zeke Berry's pretty solid. They have some younger guys that are pretty talented as well. But I think if Raiola has time, I just think with any quarterback, especially one as good as him, I think if he has time, I do think that he can, have success moving the ball against this defense. But my biggest question is offensive tackle. I mean, we've worried about that all offseason, and it was like Nebraska. We talked about how Nebraska made an upgrade there, but we've got the same guy starting at left tackle, and I guarantee you that that's going to be a huge test. And one name that you need to know, Nebraska fans, on defense is Jay Barham, and he is normally a linebacker for Michigan, but last week they walked him down to play edge, which he can also do at 6'3", 243, and he had 2 sacks. And I think he's going to play edge this week, and he's probably going to be the guy that Gunnar Gatula or Teddy Prochazka, one of these guys, is going to have to block along with Derek Moore. And they have to win those matchups, and as long as they do that, I think that this offense is going to have success. Even though I don't see a ton on the ground from Emmett Johnson, but I do think he can have an impact, potentially as a receiver. But we'll see him. I could be wrong on that. Maybe they'll be able to run the ball better than I think, but Michigan is pretty stout in that area, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, and I mean, this will be the first really big test for Nebraska against a top tier defense. And one of the things that I kind of want to see is getting guys like Quentin Ives and, Kai Nelson involved in the passing game. I thought they did really well in that area last week and even the first couple weeks. And, we talked earlier this week that Nelson ran the ball really well, and he had an overall good game in terms of just getting yards. So having depth at that running back position and, having contributions from all running backs will be important for Nebraska. It can't just come down to Emmett Johnson.
See, I disagree. I wouldn't trust those guys this week. I think this is all about Emmett Johnson. I just think that's too important. I think there's a reason why Nelson didn't play last week, and I think Ives if something happens, but I think this is going to be like the Cincinnati game. There's a bye week next week, so I would play Emmett Johnson almost exclusively in this game. I just don't think there's. Yeah, I just think it's too risky to play those other guys, to be honest.
You got to have some sort of rotation against this defense. I mean, not like even a ton of snaps for Ives, for example, but just a breather for Johnson.
Yeah, I'd play Ives a little bit, but yeah, not much. I'd play Emmett Johnson as much as possible in this game, which I know I've kind of gone against what I've said, but I just think that this game is so important that they just need him out there. So Ives, I think, with his pass protection, but I feel like there's a reason why Nelson didn't play last week. So I'd be surprised if you're not up to snuff to play against Houston Christian, why would you play against Michigan? To me, I don't know. So I'd be surprised if he was out there. Ives, I could see it. He's probably a little more skilled in the pass protection, but to me, pass protection is going to be much more important in this game than running the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely see Ives out there a little bit, not a ton, but Nelson maybe not so much, but Ives I think could have a role in the passing game for sure.
Yeah, so I think another X factor in this game could be Luke Lindenmeyer, the tight end. I would watch out for him. I think he's got a good opportunity in this game to make some big plays. But yeah, Ja'Cory Barney, I think Cortez Mills are other guys, specifically that are going to have opportunities to make big plays. So we'll see. I do hope that Dana Holgerson's, got some things up his sleeve this week. You need to let it all hang out this week. We need to not have. I understand Cincinnati's playing 3 deep, but they still could have been more aggressive in that game. You can't just let the defense, dictate to you always. So they need to find a way to, create some chunk plays, some explosive plays, and they need to do it early. This team needs to come out and start strong. I truly believe that. And I think they can. It would not surprise me one bit if Nebraska comes out and gets a 2 or 3 score lead in this game. Would not surprise me at all.
And I think with the Cincinnati game, I think that was a bit of an anomaly because you don't want to show all your plays for a game like Michigan. It's the first game of the season and you're trying to test everybody out. There's a lot of new faces on this offense. So I don't think Cincinnati is necessarily the best barometer for, playing tough games. I just think they did what they needed to do. But at the same time, I agree with you that they have to empty the clip and see what they can do. When you look at explosive playmakers, aside from Key and Barney, you do have Cortez Mills and Lindenmeyer. I agree he's going to be a major factor in this game. He's had a great year. I am a little interested to see the depth at tight end overall. not just for this game, but overall. I mean, Lindenmeyer's been great, and Harburg has been a good blocker, but I'd love to see a little bit more receiving production from somebody else other than Lindenmeyer.
Yeah, it would be nice to see somebody else kind of step into that role. Harburg, I think, would have a good chance. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Nebraska can get enough going in the running game to, at least keep the Michigan defense, kind of respecting the run. But yeah, I mean, I have a hard time seeing him get a big game, but it's possible. I mean, Emmett Johnson's definitely capable of ripping off some big runs. I think, that interior, Michigan's defensive interior is really strong. But I do think that's the strong part of the Nebraska offensive line. So, we'll see. And maybe they need to, get Dylan involved a little bit in the run game too. Just not necessarily as a runner, but just having that threat that the defense needs to account for, because that's something I think that Michigan's going to try to do in this game. So we can talk about that too, as far as when they have the ball. But my final thought on offense, I think it's just, at the end of the day, it comes down to me, the offensive line, because if the offensive line gives Raiola the protection, I believe that he'll have, the kind of game that he needs to have to win. But I mean, at the end of the day, if we're talking about a Nebraska victory, we're going to be talking about Dylan Raiola. And that's what I think, is going to be the defining thing in this game. Like, does he live up to this moment? I believe that he will, but the offensive line is going to have to give him time, because that's the one thing defensively, for Michigan is we all know, like, what stops an elite quarterback, right? A pass rush, a good pass rush. Michigan's pass rush hasn't been great this year. It hasn't been as good as it has been the past few years, but I would watch Jayshon Barham at edge, and if some of their other guys play well, that's one thing I think that could ruin this game for Nebraska's offense.
And I think, it would be nice to see, schemes where Raiola gets the ball out quick, plays where Raiola, doesn't hold on to the ball too long, maybe quick reads, stuff like that, to kind of counteract the Michigan pass rush.
All right, let's switch over to when Michigan has the ball, which been a lot of conversation, about Bryce Underwood, obviously, this week, and rightfully so. But there's, the Michigan run game is legitimate, and you look at Justice Haynes leading the Big Ten, 388 rushing yards per game. He's got 3 runs this year of over 56 yards. He had a 75-yard touchdown run against Oklahoma. So even though they didn't run the ball very successfully in that Oklahoma game, he still was able to rip off kind of a big chunk play. So he's definitely a player that Nebraska needs to account for. I mean, he was a 5-star, went to Alabama. He averaged 6 yards a carry at Alabama before he transferred to Michigan. They just, for some reason, Alabama didn't want to feed him the ball, but he's been very successful in Ann Arbor. This offensive line isn't as good, Michigan's, as it has been in recent years. They have a new starter last week at guard, Jake Guanera, but he made his first start, played pretty well. They also had another starter. Both of their guards were new starters last week due to injury, and I don't think they're going to get either of the other 2 guys back. So, it's not like a super huge loss. There was kind of a competition between one of the starters, Nathan Afobe, who probably will start, and Brady Norton. So they're pretty even, but it's definitely not as good of an offensive line as it has been. Left tackle is a little shaky. So I do think this is a chance for the Nebraska pass rush to make an impact, and I think they do need to make an impact. I mean, 5 sacks in 3 games, been a little disappointing, I would say, in terms of the pass rush. I'm disappointed in the run defense, but also the pass rush. So I think this is a chance for them to redeem themselves.
Yeah, and the run defense has certainly been a cause for concern, and I think that's something you're gonna look at as something to watch for on Saturday. I mean, Justice Haynes is a really, really good running back, so I'm curious to see how they contain him. I think this is going to be, again, another big test for, this defensive line, and guys like Riley Van Poppel and Elijah Judy are going to have to step up and make some plays in the running game. And, so far it's been mixed results, but, I mean, this is the type of game where they can really improve their stock and show that they can be successful at defending the run.
Yeah, this will be the test if they've got enough, enough size up front, because Michigan's going to test it, like, no doubt about it. And the thing, I feel like this run defense, a lot of fans have tried to dismiss it or just say, well, oh, there was the Brennan Sorsby, he did most of the damage, and that was, an undesigned runs or whatever. But if you look at each game, every starting running back has averaged over 5 yards a carry against Nebraska. Every starting running back, Cincinnati, Akron, Houston Christian, all of them. So to me, that's very concerning. You're giving up, as a team, 4 yards per carry, 136 yards per game. So yeah, that's going to be, I think, the defining issue, because it's very simple to say, oh, let's, hey, John Butler's going to dial up a bunch of blitz packages and a bunch of, funky things to confuse Bryce Underwood, sort of like Brent Venables did. But you know what Oklahoma did first? They stuffed the run. And if you have, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, it's a lot easier to get creative as a defensive coordinator than if it's 3rd and 3, right? Because if it's 3rd and 3, they're probably just going to run the ball. So you're very limited in what you can do. And I think that's what Michigan's, I don't think they're going to be conservative with it, but I do think that they're going to test Nebraska's run defense. I think you're going to see a lot of X6 offensive linemen. I mean, that's going to be a staple. I think you're going to see lots of basically formations where you have 3 tight ends, where they're going to bring on a 6th offensive lineman and have 2 tight ends out there blocking. And so it's really, I think they're really going to test Nebraska in that way. I mean, they'll sit there and play the entire game with 1 wide receiver. Like, they do not care. I mean, Sharon Moore's not there, so it'll be interesting to see if they do that. But that was the one thing they had success with against Oklahoma. And that's one thing I do kind of worry about, them just loading up and just trying to run the ball and playing keep away a little bit from Dylan Raiola. And I do wonder, if I'm not saying that Bryce Underwood, that they're not going to give him the green light to do all the things that he can do to run and whatever. But I do wonder if, they ran him around last week and are like, hey, look at this big fancy toy, this shiny toy Nebraska. And they're going to come back this week and he's going to throw the ball 20 times and they're going to run it like 40 times at us. So I do worry about that. And I think, stopping Bryce Underwood is essential. But I think that's if you're looking at like, the scouting report for Nebraska, I think that's 1B. 1A is stopping that running game, because if they don't do that, it's going to make, job number 2, stopping Bryce Underwood, a lot more difficult.
Well, let's be honest here. You have Justice Haynes circled on your game report. You don't have the Akron running back circled on your game report. Justice Haynes is just so much better and such a dynamic playmaker that I bet they've been paying attention to him a lot in film this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But the thing that makes him so difficult is, it's just about your run fits. I mean, you have to, like, he's very good at pressing the hole and forcing, because Michigan loves to run a lot of duo, and their backs, they didn't do as good of a job against Oklahoma, but they're very good at pressing that hole, getting the linebackers to commit, and then boom outside for touchdowns. That's basically like almost every big Donovan Edwards touchdown. That's what it was, duo. Both of the touchdown runs in the national championship game, duo. And so they got to be, they do have to be careful, because it's one bad fit, one bad, you get, drive blocked out of there. It's one play and this kid can go to the end zone. Max Bredesen, their fullback, to me, in my opinion, he's the best fullback in the country. I mean, he truly, like, he's probably going to get drafted. Like, that's how good he is. So watch him, number 44, and that's, I'm not sure with the linebackers, if they really have the linebackers to take him on. We'll see. Watson Trent, Vincent Shavers, these guys are really going to have to step up and play well. But yeah, I think too, it is going to be interesting to see how much they involve Underwood in the running game. And I'm not even just meaning, the undesigned runs. I'm wondering how much they're going to use him in the designed run game, because last week it was only 2. They really haven't done it with the zone read type of stuff. And so I'm wondering if that's like a wrinkle, that they're saving for this game. And all of a sudden, we get 5-6 zone reads from Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. And, on that front, I mean, Nebraska hasn't been the best at stopping running quarterbacks. So I'm going to be curious to see how they try to contain them.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, I think he will. They're, I know that they've worked on that, and there could be some situations where they try to, entice him to rush, a little bit early. But yeah, I mean, last week too, I mean, part of the reason why he was running a little bit is their offensive line, was getting beat a little bit. So, I mean, that was part of it, right? Like, your quarterback's scrambling a little bit because the defensive line's getting at field. I will tell you, he's definitely a better athlete than Brendan Sorsby. Like, this guy is better. He's a better thrower than Brandon Sorsby. He's a better runner. I mean, he's just on a different level athletically. So, there is some concern there. Michigan has better weapons too than Cincinnati does. Not great. I mean, their receivers, I definitely think Nebraska has the advantage in receivers. I do think their tight end is probably better. And they have 2 good tight ends, and neither of them played against Oklahoma, and that did make an impact. Marlon Klein and Hogan Hansen. So those are 2 names that Nebraska fans need to know. Michigan's going to try to target them. They're both like 6'5", big time pass catchers. Donovan McCulley. But yeah, I think Nebraska matches up pretty well in the secondary. So I would expect them to honestly press coverage on the outside. I think that's what that's the plan. Do not give. That's what Oklahoma did. Like they didn't give. I mean, I should correct myself because they did on like first downs, on a lot of first downs, like Oklahoma's cornerbacks were playing off, but Michigan just wasn't going to throw the ball coming out on first down. So that's something I'm interested to see in this game is how much will Michigan come out and attack Nebraska, on first downs, like show a running formation and then just come out and throw, a little 7-8 yard hitch route because, you know, if Nebraska's playing off those guys, like Bryce Underwood can hit that all day. And when you have the arm strength of him or like Raiola, like that's like giving candy to a baby. I mean, they can make that throw all day. So to me, I think the plan is like get up there, you press those receivers, you put extra guys in the box, and I think you make him prove that he can beat you downfield throwing the football. And Michigan was basically, I mean, they were kind of afraid to let him, throw the ball and take shots downfield. They ran a lot of screens and stuff, and Venable's game plan was so smart. It was one of the smartest game plans I've ever seen, and that's why I don't think Nebraska can really duplicate it. Because basically, he went into this game and was like, okay, what does any team want to do with a young quarterback, right? They want to hand the ball off. They want to give him high percentage throws. You know what I mean? So what they did is like anytime like Michigan tried to run a screen or something, they just basically like blitzed it. And it was just like, and instead of, they were basically daring Michigan to kind of throw the ball downfield and they just wouldn't do it. And they basically were like, we're not going to give you the simple throws. We're not going to give you the easy things, the high percentage things.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Michigan's going to make that same mistake and take the air out of the ball. I also don't think Nebraska's quite as good defensively as Oklahoma. I'm sorry to tell people this, but their defensive line is worlds better than Nebraska's, at least what they've shown so far. So I think duplicating that game plan is going to be tough, but I think some things, especially like being aggressive with their receivers, is something Nebraska has to do.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think I feel very confident in the secondary. This is the first time in years that I've been able to say that. I think they have the depth there to be able to not lock down Michigan's wide receivers, but give them a good matchup and stop them enough. And so I'm really interested to see, Andrew Marshall, Malcolm Hartzog, and Javin Wright will both be back. Donovan Jones, all those guys. I mean, I'm really interested to see how Marshall does in particular because he's had a great year, and a good game against Michigan will just further, kind of prove that he was one of the best pickups in the transfer portal this year.
Yeah, he's going to be key the run support, and watch out for Rex Guthrie in this game.
Yep.
I think we're going to see him a lot, especially on the early downs. So, all right, let's switch over keys to victory now. So, looking for Nebraska, what are your keys to victory? Maybe 2 or 3 things that the Huskers have to do to win this game.
Get the ball out quick if you're Dylan Raiola, and don't let Bryce Underwood run. Those are my 2 big things, and I think if they can stop Underwood and have Raiola get the ball out quick, then I think they're good to go.
Yeah, I think protecting Dylan Raiola is the first key. You can't let him get sacked and hit a bunch in this game. That's the one way I believe that Michigan can stop this Nebraska passing attack. I don't think that their cornerbacks are, if Raiola has time, I just don't think they're quite good enough in coverage. So yeah, protecting Dylan Raiola I think is going to be the first key, and then stopping the run of Michigan reasonably. Michigan's going to run the ball fairly well, but Nebraska cannot let them, have these like 10, 12, 15 play drives where they're just grinding the clock, holding the ball, keeping Dylan Raiola on the sidelines. They also can't give up, couple 50-yard touchdown runs to Justice Haynes. So they need to keep him in check. He may get 100 yards, but I would say as long as Nebraska holds Michigan under 200, they're going to have a very good chance of winning this game. Michigan outrushed Oklahoma. It was like 146 to 143, and that wasn't even that close. So I think if Michigan gets like 180 rushing yards, that's fine. What they can't do is get like 250 or 300. Yeah. And then my last key is just don't do what Nebraska's done in these games for the last 25 games. There's a reason why Nebraska has a 25-game losing streak against ranked teams. I mean, last year against Iowa, they weren't ranked, but, fumbling the ball in the last play of the drive. The last time Michigan was here, basically gave them the game. Essentially, Adrian Martinez fumbled the game away, throwing an interception on the last drive against Iowa, missing a field goal last year against Illinois, which could have given us the lead with 2 minutes left. You cannot make those same mistakes. So we've got a new special teams coach. I mean, hopefully that all that stuff has been cleaned up. I mean, it has been so far, but just, we can't have, fourth quarter pick 6 or fumble on a game winning, just avoid those catastrophic mistakes. And Nebraska has not been able to do that, but hopefully this week they can.
Yeah, and I mean, and quite honestly, they haven't had really a situation where it's been a catastrophic mistake. So we'll see what they can do in that area.
Yeah, it's just they gotta, I mean, it's time, but and I know that's kind of a weird key, but to me, it's just this program has always found a way to stub its toe, and that hasn't really changed, since Matt Rhule's become the head coach in these big games. And so they need to find a way to not do that. They've had so many opportunities, and they finally need to kick down the door. And having a great quarterback is going to obviously help. Not having Dylan Raiola is going to make a big impact. I know he had the fumble last year as a freshman, but I have complete confidence with him to go down and win the game. But just don't get like a punt blocked and have it run back for a touchdown. Like, don't do something stupid that hands a victory to Michigan.
Yeah, I agree.
Make them earn it. If they're gonna beat you, at least make them earn it.
Yeah, no, I am confident that this special teams unit is better based off of what I've seen. And Archie Wilson, I expect will finally get some playing time this week. So, I mean, hopefully not too many, but it'd be good to get him out on the field a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Matt. I don't know. I was gonna say I think Matt Rhule will be aggressive, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I do like how he was aggressive against Cincinnati. And I think when you have a good quarterback, I think you should be. I mean, I think anytime Nebraska is across the 50-yard line, if it's fourth and less than 5, I think they should be going for it. I mean, if they're in field goal range, that's one thing. But I just think like, everybody knows that Dylan Raiola is supposed to be like the savior or whatever for this program. He's the 5-star. Just like put it on his shoulders and let him do it. Like, he's at that point now. Like, we've seen it these last 3 weeks. Like, let's take and I'm not saying Nebraska's got the kid gloves on him, but it's time to, kind of like Michigan with Bryce Underwood, it's time to give him the green light, which I think Nebraska has, but, I feel like they've been holding him back a little.
I mean, they have. He threw for what, 373 against Akron.
Yeah, but I want to see him do that against Michigan, though. I want to see them let it, it's easy to let it, that's the same thing with Bryce. It's cool. It's Michigan. Let him do all these things against Central Michigan. But let's see what they let him do against Nebraska. You know what I mean? That's
sure. But I mean, they can only play who's on the schedule, And I feel like, fans,
right? Yeah.
Always, like, yeah, it's only Central Michigan. Yeah, it's only Akron, but they just play who they need to.
No, but my point is, like, so with Michigan, when they played Oklahoma, they did not play Bryce Underwood the same as when they did with Central Michigan. So I think Nebraska played, they threw the ball and were different in the way they attacked Cincinnati as opposed to, like, I don't think if Houston Christian came out in the Cincinnati defense that we would have seen a bunch of dink and dunks. You know what I mean? So, like, some of it is based on your opponent, but I just like, let Dylan Raiola be your best player because he is, and that's what he needs to be on Saturday. Like, if Nebraska is going to win this game, it's going to be because Dylan Raiola is the best player on the field Saturday. That's what needs to happen.
And there are a lot of recruits coming for Saturday as well, so it's going to be a good chance to showcase the program.
Yeah, and as far as 2026, basically, all the commits are coming. Cameron Wilson from Syracuse is going to be visiting as well. So that would be a big chance to get him on campus. Danny Odom's going to be visiting, which I think is pretty notable. In terms of 2027, a lot more guys. Kennedy Brown, the number 1 player overall, will be on campus. Torrey Pittman will be back. Juju Jackson, 24th overall player. He's a corner. He'll be visiting. Duve Williams, another top 30 corner. Matthew Gregory, a top 30 player, wide receiver.
Matthew Gregory is interesting, yeah.
Kamari Dorsey, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but a ton of top 100 guys. Trey Taylor's going to be back on campus this week. Isaiah Rogers, the running back from Massachusetts, is one I'm really excited about. He'll be on campus. Nebraska needs to get a big time running back. Like, we're in the 4th recruiting class of Matt Rhule, and we haven't landed a big time back yet. I mean, Jamarian Parker was a good player, but it's time. Matt Erickson will visit again after his commitment. So lots of highly touted guys. There's some 2028 guys visiting too, but a big weekend to showcase what this program can be with the win over Michigan.
I feel comfortable that we can land Rogers. I really do. That's just, and not just because he's a Massachusetts guy, but when you look at his offer sheet, there's not too many schools that are on the level of Nebraska. So I feel like the Huskers have a good chance to land him.
Yeah, and getting a win against Michigan would certainly help with a lot of these prospects. It would be nice to get Cameron Wilson into the class in 2026. I mean, we still are no defensive linemen, in the 2026 class. Which I mean, I understand the reasons why for it with the new coach and stuff, but it's not ideal. So I think that if they can fix that in the next 3 months, that would be good.
Yes, not ideal, but I'm not too worried yet. I mean, we'll have to see how it all plays out. And then I know this isn't really recruiting, and I'm not sure if you wanted to make this a separate subject, but Nebraska, yesterday, it was reported that they were one of 25 teams in contact with Virginia Tech transfer corner Dante Lovett. So that's something to watch too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would. I
take
think
'em.
there's some players in UCLA, like those recruiting classes, UCLA's recruiting class that
Yeah.
they could look at. I mean,
Yep.
you know what, you got UCLA, Virginia Tech. I mean, there's going to be others, but yeah, I've already seen some decommitments. So that could be another potential spot
UCLA is an absolute mess.
to look for some guys. Yeah, they're going to be the worst program in the Big Ten. No question about it. Northwestern's going to be better than them, like long term, because they just don't care about football. They just don't care.
No.
And so it's like US. I mean, it's so drastically different from USC.
Yeah,
I mean,
isn't it?
USC fans don't even care that much. Like they care if the team's good, but if USC's like 8-4, they just don't. They're like, oh, whatever, we'll go to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
there's things to do there
between California and say Nebraska, for example.
Yeah, big time difference. Yeah, when you're in Nebraska, man, you can't get away from it. It's cool, but like every department store you go into, they got the game on the radio. At least they did when I was a kid. I can't say that anymore. Not that people really even go in department stores anymore, not like they used to. But
I was gonna say you probably listen to the game on the radio while online shopping now. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, probably
listening to the game while you're searching on your app.
Well, while I'm streaming the game, which I'll be doing, I've gone cordless, so hopefully the internet holds up.
You got a game this weekend of your own to cover?
Friday night, yep, got a Friday night football game, so that'll be fun. But yeah, so let's get what's our predictions now? Let's make our final predictions here. Nebraska versus Michigan. Nebraska's 2.5-point underdog, 3:30 CBS or 2:30 Nebraska time, 3:30 Eastern time. But CBS, Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson. It's going to be a big time game. What's your prediction?
I'm gonna defer to you. I'm going to elect a kick in the second half, and I'm going to defer to you because I don't know yet.
It is a tough game. I've gone back and forth with it. I really don't know what's going to happen. I think it's a true coin flip. I think what we're going to see though is two dynamic quarterbacks going at it. I think when we look back at this game, we're going to, I think this will be like the Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, that game where they played at Texas Tech and Oklahoma. It'll be similar to that because it's going to be two future first-round picks going at it. But I do think Dylan Raiola is going to get the upper hand. I think it's going to be like 27-24. I think Nebraska, kicks a field goal in the last few minutes, and then they find a way to get a defensive stop late. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. I would bet the over, but I think Nebraska wins by a field goal.
Hopefully not as many yards of offense, because if that happens, you're going to see me in cardiac arrest, and I'm not going to be able to do the show on.
That'd
be
Monday. Fun though, wouldn't it?
It would be fun, but
yeah.
I think Nebraska finally bites the winless streak against ranked teams in the butt, and they pull this one out. I'm going to go. Damn. Okay. 20-17 Nebraska, because I was going to say 24-21, but I think all the scoring might be in the second half, and then the first half, and then you'll see the teams adjust, and it'll be a little bit tougher in the second half. But I think Nebraska finally gets it done.
Yeah, I think so. I think Nebraska will lead most of the way. I think it's somewhat similar to the Colorado game. I think they're going to start really hot. I think they'll get maybe it'll take them maybe a possession or two to get going, but I think they'll get the lead maybe by 10, maybe by 17. I think Michigan will come back. I think it'll be tied, and then I think Nebraska will go on like one of those drives. But it's gonna be and everyone's gonna be like, oh God, here we go again. And then Raiola's gonna take us like on a, like he'll take over the ball like midway through the fourth quarter, and it'll be like one of those long drives, and it'll be kind of dink and dunk, but we'll kick like a 30-yard field goal with like 50 seconds left, and then we'll have to panic for like 50 seconds, but maybe we'll get like an interception or something, and Bryce will get a little too aggressive, and that'll seal it. So that's my prediction. Nebraska will
I don't
pick
know.
off Bryce.
I don't
Nebraska
know
will
if we
pick
can
off
do
Bryce
that.
Underwood once.
But you know what? The other, you talk about X factors. Kyle Cunanan. He's had a great year so far. I've been really impressed with him, and I'm looking for him to have a big day on Saturday too. I've really been impressed with what he's been able to do.
Yeah, we'll see. If my prediction comes right, he will be the hero on Saturday, along with I don't know, Deshaun Singleton will come up with the pick. That's what I'm going to say here. That'll clinch it. If
I'm
all
gonna
this
say a lot of
happens,
Deshaun McCullough. A lot of Deshaun McCullough on Saturday.
if all this happens as I say, I'm going to pick up sports gambling. So we'll see.
I don't know if I would do that. I mean, it sounds good until you're in the hole, and then you're like, "Shit, I shouldn't have done that."
That's true. I'm just kidding, but I have a lot of very specific predictions, so we'll see how close I am to. It'll probably be completely opposite of what I say. So hopefully not from a Nebraska perspective.
Well, no, hopefully it's like 52 to like 10, and it's not a close game.
That would
And
be that cool.
way, it'll be the complete opposite. So
That would be cool. I don't see that, but I could see
no,
Nebraska winning this game by double digits. I could.
that
Not
would be nice.
Michigan. I don't think
Please.
Michigan could, but I could see Nebraska winning this one by double digits, like 28-17 or something. If they
Okay.
really give Bryce fits. If they can stop the run, because that's the thing is I do think John Butler can confuse Bryce Underwood a little bit in this game, but
Things, yeah.
But you got to stop the run first, because like I said, there's only so much you can do when it's 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3. It's
Yeah.
a lot easier to get creative when it's 3rd and 11. So
Right, yeah.
So all right, you guys. Well, we're going to be back on Saturday morning for a pregame chat, so you can join us for that. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment with your predictions for the Michigan game, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.